episode 40, the Big 4-0. We're over the hill of the fifth Meeple board game podcast. We're a group of diverse friends who offer our takes on the latest and greatest board games to hit our table. I'm your host, Daniela, the goofy noob, and I'm joined today by the collector.
Hey, this is David.
And the intellectual introvert.
Hi, everyone. This is Chris.
And last but not least, the deluxeifier.
Hello, it's Pete here.
If you're listening from anywhere in America, and maybe even if you're not, you know that college basketball is in the midst of determining their champion in a little tournament they like to call March Madness. Well, here at the Fifth Meeple, we also run an annual tournament of our own, pitting all of the Battle of the Funnest winners from the past year against each other in a tournament we call Meeple Madness. We'll face them off 2x2 until only one game remains, claiming the Meeple Madness title in the ultimate survival of the funnest. But before we get to that, David, what's on your mind?
And this topic has to do with a bunch of Kickstarters that have just come out. So there's a trend right now in board gaming to basically take a game and take an old game and to deluxeify it or blow it up. And Awaken Realms is doing this right now with Agricola. I don't know what the cost is going to be. I think it's really high, but we also see this with Champions of Midgard. They just released theirs. It's $250 for the deluxeified kit. But my question to you is, should board gamers companies that are doing Kickstarter should, instead of always blowing games up and deluxeifying and putting them in this really huge box, instead of doing that, should they look to micro games and build games that are really small, maybe like a third of the size, so that you could take with you wherever you go? I haven't seen any miniature sets out, but my theory is I would probably be more interested in a miniature-sized version of a lot of games, potentially shrunk down, so that I could bring them to places rather than these big boxes that I can never move.
So is Agricola, is it a large? Is it going to be a big box?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge box probably with all the fixins.
Got it.
Kind of like Castles of Burgundy, like that huge box. Kind of probably the same box actually.
Yeah, I'm going to speak out here. I'm a little sad about the Champions of Midgard deluxe version. It is a little bit too out of my price range. I hate to say that, but when I look at what I already have for it, it's not worth that. So, but to your question, miniature games, I know I had purchased a lot of the tiny Epic games, and I cannot stand them being so small that you can barely get anything back in the box. I would be okay with a smaller game, but don't try to squeeze it in a little tiny box. That's too much. Give it enough room, but make it smaller. I would be up for that a little bit.
It's funny because growing up, I really enjoyed the game of life. You know, I've talked about the Pursuit of Happiness on here. It was just a game that I really enjoyed playing. And for, I don't know if it was my birthday or Christmas, I actually got a small version of this. And what it would do, it was a box or a compartment, I should say, that folded on itself. So when you opened it up, it was actually the board game. It had the spinner, it had the little cars, it had all these little things that you could push in to the actual like plastic compartment, little money, little everything that came with it. And I thought it was awesome. So for me, that was a really cool thing to take and play. I think you could probably do that with games like Scrabble and some other things, maybe some of the more classics. I think they've done that. They've done a lot with those already. I know I have like a little Snakes and Ladders game. That's a Harry Potter version of it. I think it's called like Basilisks and Broomsticks or something silly. But I don't know how you would take all the games and make them small. I think they would have to look at maybe the last 10 years, the hottest games, and maybe do those ones and make them small, because obviously you'd get into, I don't know if companies would lose money producing really small, tiny games. So I don't know.
Yeah, when it comes to deluxeified games, I don't know if I've ever bought one. It's not my thing. I like when other people have them. Although even then, sometimes it becomes more in my mind of, okay, now it's not as easy to do things. It takes up a little bit too much room, and then it costs you all this money. So I'm not too keen on that. I think from a standpoint of miniaturizing, the one that comes to my mind is, I think Azul did a mini Azul. And if it's the same game and it's something that lends itself well to being small, you just went on vacation, Danielle,
Yeah.
You were saying, I need small games to fit in my bag. And so there is a reason to do that. I do wonder about cost as well and recouping that. But to me, it's got to be the right game. If it's a game that's got a lot of cards, I'm 52 years old. I can't see as it is. You know, it's only getting worse. I don't need things that are miniaturized that I need to see. But something simple like Azul makes total sense to me that, make it small. I can take it a lot easier.
Yeah, I know, Chris, you bought Gloomhaven, the Bugs and Buttons. How did you feel did you get a chance to play that yet?
I played it. It's a little too small. for me. And it's not, I can see everything, but it's okay, everything's on a card, but then now, we're double siding everything. And it's okay, the mechanics to do that becomes a little bit of a pain in the butt, and then the cards, for whatever reason, and I might be shoving it back in the box and everything, they're a little bent, and once they're bent and you got to put things on the card, and then it just becomes a little bit of a pain to play.
To me, when I see this trend of like blowing up all these games, going back in, deluxe find stuff, these huge boxes that come in, I'm kind of the opposite right now. Maybe because I have so many games that I own, but I'm definitely looking for smaller versions. Sometimes I'll go out, like Can't Stop, I like to play that, but I bought the Japanese version that folds up into this little tiny box that I could bring anywhere. I see that there's a lot of value in potentially taking some of the games that we love and shrinking them down, maybe putting a smaller price point on it as well. But then also it gives me more joy because I could bring more stuff with me on vacations or other stuff and get them more to the table. But like you said, I think it would have to be the right games. But I would like to see a trend kind of go the other way a little bit more than just big boxing everything today. But we'll see what happens, especially with all these tariffs. So maybe things will come down.
All right. Thanks, David. So that's our opinions on just some of the Kickstarters and what they're doing as far as big box and kind of our ideas on some of the maybe smaller micro games and stuff. But if you guys have any opinions on that, we'd love to know what all of you guys out there have to say on this topic. You can let us know by sending us an email at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media or on our BGG Guild, or check us out on our website at thefifthmeeple.com. In addition to subscribing to our show, one of the best ways to help us grow is to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen. And if you do so, we just might read one on a future episode. Well, the crowds are growing, there's excitement in the air, and I think it's finally time to kick off this year's Meeple Madness Tournament.
All right, everyone, the moment of truth, the real moment of truth has arrived. We're taking all of the past year's winners and battling them out until we're left with just one ultimate champion in our 2025 Meeple Madness Tournament. Last year, we had 10 games in our tournament, with Planet Unknown ultimately reigning supreme as the first ever Meeple Madness champion. Since then, we've had a total of 18 games emerge as victors. For the tournament bracket, I simply used the current BGG rankings to seed them 1 through 18. On today's show, we'll do a few matchups to start to whittle that bracket down. We'll briefly describe each game as well as the episode that game battled in so that you can hear a more in-depth review if you want to. To get us started, though, here's a quick rundown of the 18 games in order of seeding that are in our Meeple Madness this year. Our number 1 seed is Brass Birmingham, followed by Terraforming Mars, The Castles of Burgundy, Concordia, Lost Ruins of Arnak, Viticulture, El Grande, Decrypto, Eldritch Horror, Champions of Midgard, which we just talked about, Earth, Castles of Mad King Ludwig, Camelot, Glory to Rome,
Glory to Rome,
Alien Frontiers, Altiplano, Bomb Busters, and the 18 seed Lockup, A Role Player Tale. Now, 7 of these games are actually in BGG's top 100. Most are in the top 500 except for the last 2, but you never know. One of these games may pull the ultimate upset. We'll have to see. But before we get started, guys, any thoughts on the field here? Who do you think, any dark horses that might make a run?
It's going to get interesting because I definitely know that there's going to be some matchup here that I know people definitely do not like. So we'll see them flying off the shelves. I know I probably have one here too with David. We're going to X-nay real quick. So
I got a dark horse, but I'm not going to say anything right now. We'll see if that one ends up at least making it maybe to the finals.
All I'm saying is lock up 18. That's not right.
That's one that I figured could be a dark horse. We'll see. It's got a couple good competitors early on. One of the things that I always find interesting when we do this, always, in all 2 times we've done this, is now we're matching up potentially 2 very different games as we get into this. And so we've been talking, man, it's going to be tough when you've got really different mechanisms, how you do that. And again, we'll see how it pans out. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
ready for it.
Let's go.
All right, well, let's get this party started. Just as a reminder how this works, for each head-to-head matchup, we'll compare both games in 5 different categories: theme and production, mechanisms, value for your time, replayability, and the fun factor. We'll each choose which game we think outdoes the other in that category. The game that gets the most votes wins the category, and the game that wins the most categories wins the battle and moves on to the next round in our tournament. Our first 2 matchups are the preliminary rounds to whittle us down to 16 games. These are the bottom 4 seeds, 15 through 18, trying to earn their way into the big boys bracket. In our first matchup, we have a great example of how we're going to see, in many cases, 2 very different games being compared head-to-head. In this first matchup, we have our 16 seed Altiplano matching up against the 17 seed Bomb Busters. Altiplano is a 2 to 5 player worker placement, contract fulfillment, and bag building game set in the South American Andes. It was designed by Rainer Stockhausen and was first published in 2017 by DLP Games. Its current BGG ranking is 429, and it defeated Orléans in episode 24 to make the tournament. Its opponent, Bomb Busters, is a 2 to 5 player cooperative deduction game that places you in the role of a bomb disposal expert, working with your teammates to defuse a bomb before your entire world is literally shattered. It was designed by Hisashi Hayashi and was first published in 2024 by Cocktail Games. Its current BGG ranking is 1097, and it defeated the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game in an upset in episode 39 to get here. So let's get this battle started with theme and production. The first one that has to make this Altiplano versus Bomb Busters comparison, theme and production, David.
First off, the production on both of these games, there's flaws in both of these games. That's the first thing that comes to my mind when I played Altiplano. The boxes actually don't really stick together that well. There's problems with the llama that we were passing around, and then with Bomb Busters, just those trays, those player trays just, come to mind. As far as theme goes, I think they both do a really good job. Altiplano is very colorful. Bomb Busters is not, but when I think about all of that put together, I'm going to have to go with Bomb Busters. I just think the theme still comes out a little bit better. I do feel like I'm a trader in Altiplano, but I do feel like I'm busting bombs in Bomb Busters. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to pass this off to Daniela.
So I think David hit on a lot of the points that are key for me. For theme and production, I'm actually going to go with Bomb Busters. One of the things in Altiplano was actually one of my cardboard crushes, I think 2 years ago. And I do enjoy the game. There are some flaws, but I do feel just like sometimes like a trader, like I'm just trading and trading and trading and trading. And so for me, I really like the cooperative deduction game in Bomb Busters. And for me, that theme and element came through much more clear for me. Pete.
Yeah, theme is what's going to swing it for me here. Bomb Busters, just that anticipation, the angst that you get. Am I pulling or picking the right wire to snip? Just that alone, I think, just elevates it above Altiplano. We talked about, the different components. I think they're on par with each other. So the theme's really what's going to push it for me. So over to Chris.
Yeah, we'll make it a sweep. Bomb Busters for me, primarily again for the theme. I agree with everything you said. I feel like when I'm playing Bomb Busters, that tension is there. Yep. We're cutting wires. We're potentially going to lead to a disaster. Altiplano does well with the theme in that, hey, you're trying to survive up in the Andes. It feels like you're trying to survive as you're playing that. I enjoy that game, but from an overall theme and production standpoint, it's Bomb Busters for me, which means Bomb Busters starts with a really good start, 4-0, taking theme and production. We go to mechanisms, over to Daniela.
Altiplano, worker placement, contract fulfillment, bag building. This was one of my crushes a couple years ago. I really enjoy all those things when we're playing a game. To Chris's point, just that he just said, I do think that came through a little bit. You do feel like you're up in the Andes. I like the bag pulling. I like a lot of that stuff. And I do think it actually works well, even if there are some flaws there. For Bomb Busters, I do really love cooperative deduction. This is hard because these are two totally different games for me, which I both really like. But I think for the mechanisms for this, I think I'm going to go with Altiplano. I think it's worth it when you're setting up and you're ready to play that game. It's just really nice and crisp for me. David.
I like Bomb Busters. I think as I've been playing more games, the deduction has been coming out stronger in me, especially co-op deduction. I feel like I like that more and more against the bag building. Oh, that's really tough. But I think I'm going to have to swing this one with Bomb Busters just because I feel like I love opening up packages that I don't know what's going to be in the next level. I like revealing cards. I like revealing mechanisms that I might not even know are even in there yet because I'm not even, towards the end of that game. There's 66 levels. I think I'm only up to like level 18, 19. So to me, it's just the anticipation of what's in these boxes that I'm always shaking. I do think the mechanisms on the other game are solid, but because of that mystery, I kind of like the mystery in games when I get to open more and more stuff and just see what other mechanisms lie there. So I'm going to have to go with Bomb Busters. I'm going to send this one over to Pete.
I'm going to go with Altiplano on this one. I think there's more game in it. I like the deduction part, but to me, that's the primary focus of Bomb Busters. I think that kind of is the main core mechanic. And there's some little things sprinkled in there with some card collection and that. But I think Altiplano really brings a little bit more variety when you're setting up the board. We played games back to back and they felt extremely different. And I'm not saying that they're not different with Bomb Busters, but from a game perspective, I just liked Altiplano a little bit more than Bomb Busters when it comes to the mechanisms. Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to make it a win for Altiplano. I'm going to go there. I like them both, and we're going to see this. All of these are winners, and so it makes it tougher for us because hey, we in general, I know Daniela was talking about something that's coming up eventually here that doesn't fit that category. I like both of these games. Altiplano, though, I like the way the mechanisms work well together. But also, I think there's the right level of complexity and puzzle. I remember playing this the first time you play it. After a while, the first half of the game is just I got to remember how this even happens.
Yeah.
But then once you figure it out, you're like, okay, now I'm getting it. And then the second time you play it, you're like, okay, I can see how these things are working together. And the next thing you know, you're filling up this warehouse that you're like, how can you ever get anything in there? And I think the more you play it, the more you see the intricacies of how you have to work those mechanisms together. I like that. I'll go with Altiplano 3-1. Altiplano wins mechanisms. We'll go to value for your time, and I'll kick it to Pete.
Yeah, for the things that you just said there with learning what those mechanisms are and all of the different things, as you said, you play it once or twice, you have to remember it and go over it. That value, it makes it hard when you're going up against a game like Bomb Busters, where you can just set up and just play.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the value for my time, it really is going to come down to, do I like just a quick setup and a quick play versus something that's fairly deep and can really give me that complexity that I'm looking for? And I'm going to lean, and this is a very slight lean, to Altiplano on this. It's just, I think when I'm sit down and I play the game, it just gives me a little bit more than this deduction, a game where you play it and if you win or didn't win, it's okay. I just feel like there's more for me to invest in Altiplano. Daniela, what do you think?
I agree with some of the things you're saying. I'm actually going to go with Bomb Busters on this, though, for some of the reasons David just explained. Because when you're setting up this game, it's quite simple. It's quite a fast teach compared to Altiplano. And then when you are playing the game and you have it set out, you can play different variations to keep changing the game a little bit and to do a new wire snipping task or something like that. So for me, that's like a really important key, that if you're getting people that like to play this kind of game and you're changing it, it's one of the things I like about the Fellowship of the Rings game that we have been playing, is it changes all the time with minimal movement on the table. I don't got to flip the board. I don't got to set up a whole new thing. I don't got to, puzzle a whole board piece together. So I just like that. That's really straightforward for me. Chris.
Yeah, I am going to go with Bomb Busters as well. Not because it's shorter. I think I can have a long game and still feel I'm getting more value for my time. But I have a lot of fun. I feel like I'm always active. Even when other people are taking their turn, I'm really engaged because, again, it's a cooperative game. Maybe that's part of it. Altiplano as well. I feel like sometimes when we're playing that, it goes long. That's enough for me. If I'm feeling like it's long as opposed to I'm engaged the whole time, Bomb Busters. David.
Yeah, I'm going to have to ditto exactly what Chris said. I'm looking at my plays throughout. Altiplano's going over 2 hours, most plays that we played, and I do feel like it's a little long. I think if it was around that 90-minute mark, I'd probably like it more. And when I think about 2-hour games that I want to play, I can think of other ones that I'd rather play. And so to me, when it's Bomb Busters, they're about 20-minute episodes. Would I rather play 6 episodes, or would I rather play one game of Altiplano? And I think I'd rather just play 6 episodes of Bomb Busters if I'm going to use those 2 hours. So I'm going to go there again. Bomb Busters is my pick.
All right, 3-1. Bomb Busters takes value for your time. We'll go to replayability. I'll start. I'm going to go with Bomb Busters again. I think, is it 66 different scenarios in that box, 66. David? And so those are 66 different conditions you can play it under, but it's also set up to where you can play the same scenario over and over again. It's still a very different game. I think tons of replayability in that box. Bomb Busters for me. Daniela.
Yeah, I actually like to get to one of the ends of these games. I know we've got a couple games out there, even like with the crew and some other games that I've personally never gotten to the end. So I'd really like to get to the end to know how some of these games are with their replayability. But to Chris, your point, I think that's a really good one to point out. I do think in Altiplano, once you do know the game, it's a really fun game to try and get certain contracts and know which routes to take and how you're going to move your person around to these different places where you got to collect the goods. So I think they're both really good. I do both like these games. I think they both have good replayability. I think the one that ekes out though for me, mainly just because of how much I want to replay it, is Bomb Busters. Pete.
Yeah, Bomb Busters is going to take it for me too. There's just, as you guys mentioned already, there's just so much variability in that box and the different scenarios that are going to come out. Altiplano, there is some variability set in there, but you're still playing that core game, Daniela, as you said. Once you figure out some of those different ways to score points and manipulate the board, it's just not as much as Bomb Busters with all the variability. David?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep it simple. Bomb Busters for me and replayability. I just think there's a little bit more there.
All right, clean sweep, 4-0. Bomb Busters takes replayability. In March Madness, sometimes you just got to run the clock out. We're going to run the clock out here on Fun Factor. I'll start it. I'll go quick. I have more fun when I play Bomb Busters. I mean, literally, I'm smiling the whole time while at the same time tightening up in places that maybe probably shouldn't be tight. So I'm going to go with Bomb Busters. I'll kick it back to Pete.
Shouldn't be tight.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Bomb Busters all the way on this one. Daniela?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Bomb Busters. The player interaction for me on this one, we're all enjoying it. We're having fun. We're looking at each other. We're going, don't say that. Don't do that. Or don't know. What are you looking at that one for? Our, Altiplano, we're all kind of like scratching our heads, looking around going, oh, that person just took the cocoa that I needed or something. So, David.
I'll make this a clean sweep. Bomb Busters.
All right, Bomb Busters, 4-0 in the Fun Factor, takes that category. And at the end of our first matchup with a score of 4-1, Bomb Busters blasts away Altiplano to advance to the Sweet 16. Any thoughts, guys? One down, several more to go.
It's going to be interesting. That was a tough one just to start us off, and I think it's only going to get harder for us.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, let's roll into our second preliminary matchup. We have our 15 seed Alien Frontiers matching up against the 18 seed Lockup, a role-player tale. Now, Alien Frontiers is a 2 to 4 player or up to 6 players with expansions, area majority, dice placement game where you and other deep space colonists explore Planet Maxwell. It was designed by Tori Neiman and was first published in 2010 by Clever Mojo Games. Its current BGG ranking is 374, and it defeated Kingsburg in episode 21 to make our tournament. Lock Up, a role-player tale, is a 1 to 5 player worker placement and area majority game that tosses you into prison, leading a squadron of minions in a quest to become the toughest gang in the Gulag. It was designed by Stanislav Kordonsky and was first published in 2019 by Thunderworks Games. Its current BGG ranking is all the way down at 1,294, and it defeated Architects of the West Kingdom in an episode 17 upset to get here. Let's get the breakout attempt started. Theme and production, Pete.
If you listen to our last podcast, you'll know that I was not a fan of the Alien Frontiers theme or the production. That makes it pretty easy. Lockup, I think, the theme is very interesting. I enjoy that, and I think the actual production of it is fantastic. So I am going to go with Lockup for theme and production, and I'm going to swing over to Daniela.
I believe I was out for some of the Lockup, just for full transparency, but I have played the game. I've played it once or twice. For me, both times this game did not click in my head. So for theme and production, I'm going to go with Alien Frontiers. I like space. I like aliens. I like all that kind of world. For me, the production on the game, it is an older game, but it's very clear on the board when you're playing it what to do and what the actions are. And for me, as being kind of a newer person playing some of these games, that's very important to me. David?
First off, I think it's a travesty that these two teams are matched up in the first round here. But if you go back and you listen to what my number one ranked game is right now, currently, before we rank again this year, it is Lockup. It's my number one all-time game. So I think this is going to be very easy for me as I got to go through this list. But for me, Lockup comes through with a theme. I think it's just really unique. I like the setting of the universe that it creates, and I think it does a good job with it. And like Pete said, some of the graphics on the other one, I don't know. It's too old for me. I'm going to kick it over to Chris.
Alien Frontiers has a special place in my heart. I've mentioned this before. It was the first game my son ever bought. It was what got him into board games, and it was really what got me into board games. We played Lockup and fell in love with that game right off the bat. A lot of the mechanisms, which we'll talk about later. Theme, I love space. At the same time, prison games, you don't see too many of them, and I think this one does it really, really well. And when you look at production, I've got the big box version, so I guess it depends what version you have. There's some decent production in Alien Frontiers, but there's also some really good production for Lockup. I love the little racks where the guys, you got little guys looking out behind the rack like they're behind the bars. It's a tough one. I'm going to go with Lockup to end my own misery. So Lockup wins theme and production 3-1. We will go to mechanisms, and I'll kick it to Daniela.
Oh, man. All right. So I guess just going back through what Chris just kind of spit off in the opening entry of Alien Frontiers being a majority dice placement game, lockup, worker placement, area majority game. Again, for me, I really enjoy the role on the Alien Frontiers game. I think it's a unique way to use the dice. I like fighting for that space when you're out there in space, trying to place the dice where you need to go and getting blocked out. It's probably going to be just all for me, Alien Frontiers. So, Pete, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, mechanisms, I think I like in lockup a little bit more. I feel like I have more, David always talks about agency over the game. And I love that hidden information where you're putting your workers down. You guys know I love worker placement. You're putting them down, but there's a mystery behind that too. How much do I want to bluff? I just enjoy that mechanism over the dice rolling and dice worker placement. I just feel there's more in lockup. I'm going to go to Chris.
Yeah, I think Alien Frontiers, the dice placement mechanism, I enjoy that mechanism. And I think from that standpoint, it does well. Although I think there are flaws built in there too, depending on player count. I think it's much better for me at a higher player count. I played a lot of this 2-player with my son, and someone gets out ahead, especially if they get more dice, which is really important in a worker/dice placement game. You do that early, and it becomes a runaway right off the bat. Also, with lower player numbers, you can block certain spots really easily, and I don't like that either. Although, again, I like the game. You mentioned the hidden little bit of information that you can put, I think it's 2 of your players upside down. That always just a little bit, and then contract fulfillment I really enjoy. It's lockup for me. I'll go to Dave and see where he's at.
Yeah, I might just have to cancel out Daniela on this one too. Lockup for me, just for the same reasons that basically Chris and Pete said. I just love that hidden information of worker placement where we're placing it down. We're looking at each other across the room and, seeing if we're going to bluff or not. I love the action of flipping them over and seeing, did I get faked out by one of these guys or did I not? So I like that mechanism a lot. So
I think we all played a different game.
All right, well, mechanisms lockup takes that as well, 3-1 over Alien Frontiers to take a 2-0 lead. We go to value for your time. I'll kick it to David.
Yeah, value for my time, lockup. I always have fun playing it. I never think about the time. I think it plays fast. I would have to look at my previous plays. Alien Frontiers, I like it, but I do think it shows some age compared to other dice worker placement games that are out nowadays. So I think it does show a little bit of age there. But other than that, it's a good game. I'm going to kick it over to Pete.
Yeah, there's 2 tables set up, one with Alien Frontiers and one with Lockup. I'm going to walk over to Lockup. It's just going to pull me in. I feel like I'm just going to have more value of a game. I do enjoy Alien Frontiers. It is a good game. It's more of a lighter game for me, and I need to be in the mood for that. I think I'm usually more in the mood for something a little bit more meatier. So Lockup for me, and I'm going to go we'll go over to Chris.
All right, I'm going to mix it up a little bit here. I would go to either table in that case. I might generally have a tendency to go over to Lockup, but I mentioned that Alien Frontiers has that place in my heart, and if for no other reason, I may go over there just to experience that again. I'm actually going to go with Alien Frontiers on value for your time. It's also a relatively quick game. Things move well for a worker placement game. Alien Frontiers, I wonder what Daniela's going to do. Value for your time.
I think I'll go with what you said, Chris. I really have nothing more to say about the 2 games, honestly. I mean, value for my time is going to be this game that I already know and play. I think in Lockup we had an expansion that we played with the lower portion of it. You guys were running away with that, and I just was completely lost. And I don't know. I definitely need to replay these games, but for now, I'm at a gaming table and I'm seeing these, and I'm going to Alien Frontiers because I'm familiar with it, and familiarity brings comfort for me.
All right, so we actually have a 2-2 tie. Normally, in this case, we would go to our 5th Meeple, Dave, to break our tie. But Dave has some things going on that he is unable to be with us today, and so we're just going to let this one ride, and we'll see how it pans out. We will switch to replayability. I'll go to David, because I was going to go to myself, and I'm not sure where I'm going yet, so I'll go to David.
Yeah, replayability. I'm going to go with Lockup on this one. I do think they both have decent things, but replayability to me is every time I'm thinking about who I'm playing in Lockup, it's a new puzzle because you're playing the people. You're not necessarily playing the game. You are playing the game, but you're really playing the people at the table. And so I think the replayability is always just kind of like you play Texas Hold'em. It's always going to be there because it's not who the game necessarily is. You're not playing the game. You're playing the people at the table, which is what I like about this worker placement one. I'm going to kick it over to Pete.
Oh, you had to pick me next, huh?
Well, Chris said he needed more time. I know what Danielle's vote is.
I appreciate that.
I think your analogy of Texas Hold'em, where you're playing against people, that's what I enjoy when I'm playing games. I like that interaction. You get that in both of these with Alien Frontiers, with the dice manipulation and dice rolling, and there's that, how long do I stay out there? Man, this one's a tough one, but I think I'm going to walk over to the lockup table. It's just a little bit more for me. So let's go to Chris. I know this hurts, doesn't it?
What I'm struggling with here, we're doing base game to base game.
Yeah.
And so if I look at, you start to throw the expansions in. Again, my son has the big box. You can put some additional things in there. When we're playing with certain expansions, I really like that. It becomes very different each time. Mm-hmm. But if I'm just going with base game to base game, I'm still going to lockup. I think for all the reasons that David already said. So 3-0 lockup. Daniela, throwing us a bone.
You guys are locked up. I am free in space, just floating around here. Again, you guys, full transparency, I need more plays of lockup, I think, just at its base and just to really get a taste for that. But that's no skin off my back, I guess, because these are two totally different games that work competing against each other. But for me, replayability, simple that I know Alien Frontiers more and I enjoy it and I really like the game. If it's out there, I'm playing it.
All right, doesn't matter because it's 3-1. Lockup takes replayability, and we go to fun factor. I'll go.
Just sweep it all the way down.
We'll see. I'll go first. Lockup to Pete.
Lockup. David.
Lockup. Daniela?
Alien Frontiers.
All right, lockup takes it anyway.
Yeah. What about the next round?
We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a tough one. But as far as this matchup goes, with a 4-0 score, lockup, a role player tale, makes bail and advances to the Sweet 16. All right, so now we're getting into our Sweet 16. This is our first Sweet 16 matchup, and we have the return of our 17-seed Bomb Busters matching up against a game that is not only the number one seed in our tournament, it's actually the number one game in the world, according to BGG, and that is, of course, Brass Birmingham. Now, we touched on Bomb Busters earlier, but as for its juggernaut opponent, Brass Birmingham is a 2 to 4 player hand management network and route building game set during the Industrial Revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries. As competing entrepreneurs, players must develop, build, and establish their industries across two eras to exploit the varying market demands. Brass Birmingham was designed by Gavin Brown, David Forrest, and Martin Wallace, and was first published in 2018 by Roxley. Its current BGG ranking is, as I mentioned, number 1, and it defeated Nucleum in episode 30 to get here. Let's start building out this network with theme and production. Pete.
I think I'm going to tip my hand a little bit here. The theme in Brass, I think a lot of people may argue against this, but I think the theme is fairly strong. The production of both of these are, I would say, on par. I am just going to go with Brass Birmingham on this. It's just a gut feeling for me. I'm going to go over to Chris and see what he says.
Yeah, production, I think there's nothing super special about Brass, but it's solid. There's a couple nice pieces in there, and there's cubes, but I think the cubes work well for what it is. You try to do anything too fancy, it doesn't go there. Theme-wise, I think I love the two eras and the way, you wipe the board. Hey, it's a totally different era now. I think that comes through with the theme. The theme's really good in Bomb Busters. The production is not. It's Brass for me. I'll go to David.
Yeah, for all the reasons Chris said, I am going with Brass as well. I don't really have much to add to that conversation. So going to Daniela.
Guys, it's a train game. You're making rail. It's just like all the other railroad games we've played. It's typical. I think it is thematic in the day and age that it's being played in. So I think it does that well, to Pete's point. I know you guys love the little oil and the things that you guys are making or whatever you're producing and corn and beer and stuff like that.
Who the hell's making corn?
I don't know. Corn doesn't. Rain make corn. Corn makes whiskey. Something like that.
Yeah, there's beer.
There's some.
We'll
There's
go
definitely
with it.
beer. I think I had too much beer.
Hops.
For
For me, it's the difference of this game is that I'm going to go with Bomb Busters because I do think that it is very hard to make a game where you're have to decrypt different things. And so for me, it's going to be Bomb Busters.
All right, but still 3-1. Brass takes theme and production. To take the first category, we'll go to mechanisms. I will kick it right back to Daniela.
Mechanisms. Interesting to pit these two together. Totally different once again. I think for all the reasons that everybody in this room is going to say brass, it's going to be just... So for mechanisms, obviously it does. That game does it very well. It does everything that you guys like about that game, which you guys can all explain. The building of the railroad, the different eras that you guys like. I think they both do their thing well. It comes out. I don't even know what to say here. Mechanisms. Let's just go with brass.
Would you
Wait,
like
you're going with
to
brass?
kick it to someone else? Or?
Yeah, for all the reasons you guys are going to say. I said so. Chris, go ahead. Explain those reasons to everybody.
Yeah, I think the mechanisms, again, in both of these are solid. Brass is tight, but I think tight to the right amount. I really love the shared economy. I love the decisions of, hey, I'm going to put something out there and again, we'll just watch Pete have to help me score points just in order to be able to have a chance to score points, or seeing David take my beer just before I need it. And I love those mechanisms. It's the right amount of take that, although I do get a little salty sometimes towards the end. But I'm going to go with brass as well. Kick it to Pete.
There's just a lot more mechanisms that I enjoy in Brass Birmingham over the deduction part. We talked about it before. There's a lot of options and opening up, those boxes and seeing what's there. But I like a game when we're doing interaction with each other. Both of these do this very well. But I do enjoy the different mechanics of the order of the bidding. How much are you playing? There's a lot of decisions to make. Do you spend more money? Do I hold back? The shared economy, it's everything I want in a game. David.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Brass Birmingham for all those reasons and move on.
All right, David is really going all in on his comments today, but Brass takes mechanisms 4-0, takes a 2-0 lead overall. We go to value for your time. I'll kick it off. I'll shake it up. I'm going to go with Bomb Busters. Not that I wouldn't play Brass Birmingham anytime you put it out there, but I honestly think that if I said, okay, I have 2 hours, I'm going to play one Brass or another Bomb Busters, it could depend on the mood. I'm probably going to go with Bomb Busters, and again, I'm enjoying it the whole time. I'll go with Bomb Busters. David.
That's tough. Both of these games, when I play them, I just always think of value for my time.
Think of setup.
Do
David.
I actually pay attention to the time when it goes by? And for both of these games, time just flies. I don't pay attention to the time. So for that, they both win on. But for whatever reason, I am in the lighter mood right now. I like to play games that are like 20 minutes and move on, play it again. I'm in that time of life, I guess, that season of life. So for that reason, I will actually back that up and go with Bomb Busters for a little bit of an upset on this one. Going over to Daniela.
I'm never playing brass with you guys at all. So I'm going to go with Bomb Busters because for my time, I want to have a good time while we're all sitting around here and enjoying the banter. Pete.
Well, I'm glad this doesn't matter for my decision because I am going to go with brass. And the reason I'm going to go with brass is because I like the game better.
Because I'm not playing with you.
Well, no, you talked about it a little bit, David. A lot of it really depends on who I'm playing with. If I'm going to play a game with gamers, I'm going to go to brass every time. If I'm going to play a game with work people, I'm going to play. What's the name of the game again?
Bomb Busters.
Bomb Busters. So, a lot of this is dependent upon...
So Pete doesn't like his coworkers, just so everybody knows.
Well, we're going to be playing a game night here soon. But I think that's part of it. But when it comes down to me, when I want to play a game, I'm usually looking for something a little bit more heavier at this time. So, I lose.
All right, so Bomb Busters takes value for your time, tightens it up a little bit. Brass has a 2-1 lead. We go to replayability. This could be interesting. I'll go to Daniela.
I feel like with replayability, I feel like when something to me feels samey, as I feel brass does, it's a pretty heavy game. There's a lot of thinking. There's a lot of sitting there. There's a lot of looking at the board and coordinating in your mind. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? For me, that's heavy, and I don't really enjoy heavy games at this time. So for me, replayability, I think I can go back to Bomb Busters numerous times and keep playing it and have fun. That's going to be my decision. David.
Ooh, this is tough. It shouldn't be tough, but it is tough. I do like the replayability that Bomb Busters gives. You know, like we said, there's a ton of boxes. I'm shaking them all the time. What new things can be in here? But, I keep coming back to Brass Birmingham, and just every time I play that game, it's always different. Even though it's the same game, it's always different. Sometimes I have a set strategy going into it, and I totally leave that on the floor after the first couple cards are played out, because that's just the way this game's going to be, depending on who's there. So for that reason, I'm going to have to go with Brass Birmingham. I just think there's more replayability there because I'm playing the people at the table. Kicking it over to Chris.
Yeah. I'm getting a little worried about who's going to win this game. We might have a major upset here for this battle. I look at Brass and I think every time I play it, I've got to go Big Cotton. I'm coming in trying to do the same thing. Things are happening differently as different people do different things, but I'm always trying to do the same thing and then adjusting from there. Bomb Busters, I feel like, is different every time. I'm going to go with Bomb Busters, kick it over to Pete, see what happens.
We know what happens.
I don't think you do.
Oh, snap.
I'm actually going to go with Bomb Busters on this. I'm trying to stick true to the categories when we're trying to compare these two. There's a lot in that box that, as you said, is not explored yet. I just feel that even, to your points, when you're playing this with the same people or different people, both of these games can feel a lot different. But I'm just going to go with, I'm going with Bomb Busters on the replayability for this one.
All right, so I can hear Bomb Busters ticking, looking to possibly explode the bracket. It takes replayability 3-1. We are at 2-2. Brass versus Bomb Busters. We go to the fun factor. I'll go to David first.
I could feel the hate mail starting to come in on this, but I am not going to be checking our emails. So I am going with Brass Birmingham. And for me, this one's actually, I think, easier than I think. The fun factor to me, and this might sound weird, but I just love games where I can take debt. I just love the puzzle of allowing me to take loans, having to work my way out of things, and just screwing over people. And I feel like I could do it way better in Brass Birmingham. And I do like the part where I could see somebody's dreams and I can crush them. And I can't really always do that at Bomb Busters. So to me, for my competitive side, I'm going with the fun factor at Brass Birmingham. There's not a game like it where you're 2 hours in and I could just wallop you just for the fun of it, even if I'm not going to get first. So I do like that. I'm going to kick that over to Daniela.
And for all those reasons, I love the unity of the team when we're sitting at the table. I want to work in these like more co-op-y things. I love the themes of the co-ops. I have fun when we're working together, even when Dave and Pete might be squirming a little bit, going, "Oh, I don't know which one to do," because maybe it's not their forte that they like to play with. I do like that camaraderie. I've liked a lot of these types of games as of late. Where we're all trying to work together and solve everything as a team. So, hello, Bomb Busters. Chris, what do you got?
I enjoy playing both of these games. Often when I look at the fun factor, I ask myself, how often am I smiling in that? I'm an introverted guy. That's a big deal when I smile. People are surprised sometimes when they see it. I'm smiling a lot when I'm playing Bomb Busters. I enjoy the heck out of Brass. I'm just going to do it. I'm doing Bomb Busters. I'm going to Pete. Where are you at? Fun factor.
Oh, well, I don't know how we're going to break this tie because for me, the best game, it's my number one game. It's Brass Birmingham. I have fun doing it every time I play. Bomb Busters, and I'm going to say this, the one thing I do dislike, and you can make fun of me, I hate that feeling of being
the person who's going to blow it up, making the mistake in front of everybody. If I make mistakes, I want to do them internally. And that's the one thing that I don't like about Bomb Busters. Yeah, but let me just counter that, because David said he's going to like humiliate the person who's playing brass with him, and you don't want to be humiliated. We've never humiliated you during Bomb Busters.
I don't know. I've thought about it several times. All right, so sticking with brass?
I am sticking with brass, yes.
Okay, so fun factor is actually split down the middle 2-2. We have a tie. No Dave to break it, which means we have a tie overall. Brass has won 2 categories. Bomb Busters has won 2 categories. Today, our first tiebreaker is which game got the most votes as we went through. We have 20 total votes. 9 for Bomb Busters, 11 for Brass. So by tiebreaker in this matchup, Brass Birmingham dominates the industry, or maybe not so much, to be our first game to advance to the Elite 8 of this year's Meeple Madness tournament. Guys, I think it's officially the madness on here. Bomb Busters almost took down Brass.
Yeah, this one was a tough one. It really was.
What I learned is if you're making a game, you should name it with 2 B's. Bomb Buster, Brass Birmingham. You'll probably have a winner on your hands.
And the reality is you can't go wrong with either one of these. Again, if it's in here, it's because, for the most part, until we get to a certain game, we all like these games. It's a tough one. Any thoughts there, Daniela, before we move on?
No, I don't even know how I'm going to talk about this game moving forward.
We'll play it before the next
I'm sick.
podcast.
In our second Sweet 16 matchup, we have 2 games that probably couldn't be more different, so this again should lead to some pretty interesting discussions alongside some really difficult decisions. This matchup pits the number 8 seed Decrypto against the number 9 seed Eldritch Horror. Decrypto is a 3 to 8 player word deduction and party game that challenges you to correctly interpret coded messages from your own team while cracking the codes you intercept from your opponent. It was designed by Thomas Dagenet L'Esperance and was first published in 2018 by Scorpion Mask. Its current BGG ranking is 108, and it took out Codenames in episode 35 to get here. Eldritch Horror, meanwhile, is a 1 to 8 player cooperative game set in the world of H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. Players take on the role of one or more investigators and work together to accomplish tasks and solve mysteries before the Ancient Ones awaken and destroy the world. It was designed by Corey Konieczka and Nikki Valens and was first published in 2013 by Fantasy Flight Games. Its current BGG ranking is 128, and Eldritch Horror put a wooden stake through Fury of Dracula's Heart in episode 29, our Halloween episode, to make the tournament. Now, David didn't actually play Eldritch Horror with us, so he's going to be abstaining from this matchup, but let's keep the madness going with theme and production. I will start with Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Eldritch Horror on this one. When you set it up on the table and we came over to your house to play it, I just think it was a beautiful board. Everything was clear to see. Decrypto is kind of gimmicky for me. I'm just going to go with Eldritch Horror. Daniela, what is your thoughts?
I actually agree. I think we came and played this game at Chris's house, and he very generously helped us through the play of it. I actually asked about it because he's like, "Oh, you want to play a game that you're going to just get brutalized in?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's play that." So, we knew going into it was going to be a tough game, and I don't think we won, right? We
got crushed.
We did not win, and so I like that whole world of H.P. Lovecraft. I thought it did come through. There were just so many interesting elements to that. Decrypto to me is another. It's a good game. I actually think it's pretty cool how they have the red see-through portion where you can read the words, and there's a lot of different variability there, but it's simple. It's cardboard. It's nothing super fancy. It's just, it is what it is and straightforward. So I'm gonna go with Eldritch Horror 2 on this. Chris.
All right, I am also going to go with Eldritch Horror. We will sweep it. The way that there's narrative on these cards as you're reading your different events, the way those things actually somehow stay connected, and you can see how you would go from one event to another. Absolutely love the theme. Production's pretty good. I mean, it's still kind of flat cardboard, etc., but really good art. Love the theme. Eldritch Horror. And that's going to mean theme and production is a sweep by Eldritch Horror, 3-0. We'll go to mechanisms, and I'll kick it over to Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Eldritch Horror on this one. I love the different mechanisms where you were getting cards, and there's just so much to the game that I really like. For mechanisms, really, when you're playing Decrypto, it's your mind. It's how can I be creative with those words? And that's just not my forte. So I'm going to go back to Chris.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Eldritch Horror as well. The mechanisms aren't super complex. Again, in a lot of cases, you're rolling dice to see whether or not you win, and you can manipulate those dice somehow, and you have to take other actions to give you more power to do that. But then also, a lot of the mysteries are different. The different things you have to do. There's a lot going on in that game, and it is a puzzle. But then, and when you first start to play this, or at least me, when I first started to play it, I'm like, how does anybody ever win this? And then you start to understand, okay, these are the things that you only worry about certain times, and you're going to have to make sure you concentrate on this. And then all of a sudden, then you're winning more than you're losing, and you can start jacking up the difficulty. I'm going to go with Eldritch Horror. I'll kick it to Daniela.
I think both of these games have two different sets of mechanics that I really do like. I really like co-op games. I was playing one on vacation with my family. I really like word deduction games as well, and I like using my mind. I like sitting there going through, and I think Chris and I were on a team a couple times, and we're going through and we're trying to figure out, what is that word? How does that fit together? And we got to figure out the code. I think that's a brain burner as well. It can be. I will say it's hard because for a party game, like the mechanisms are super clean for Decrypto, but I think overall when I'm playing a game with people I really enjoyed playing with, Eldritch Horror was really, really fun and really great. I know it's not the fun factor, but it was fun doing the mechanisms in the style that was portrayed in the game.
All right, so another sweep. Eldritch Horror takes Mechanisms 3-0. We will go to value for your time. I'll kick it off. Obviously, Decrypto is the shorter game. To me, it's the question of what do you get for your time. However, I'm still going to actually go with Decrypto on this one, only because I know what it takes to set up Eldritch Horror. And we've talked about games that take a long time to set up. Eldritch Horror takes a long time to set up. And the more expansions you have, which I have all 8, it's just more cards to separate, more things to separate. I almost had to take a vacation day just to set up so that we could have a game night. So for that reason, I'll go to Decrypto, although while I'm playing it, I'm having fun, probably more fun doing Eldritch, but that's a different category. It takes a long time to set. And when I have to set this game up and we're only going to play once, that's just brutal, because then I'm putting it back in, taking just as much time. Usually when I set this up, I'm gonna to run a campaign and try to run 4 or 5 games before I put it away. So Decrypto for me, I'll kick it to Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you here. Decrypto, just as you said, you set that game up for us. We walked in, we sat down and played with it. I'd love to do that every time, but I know that's not an option when we play. So I do get the value for your time playing Decrypto. It's easy to set up. I think it's a little bit more accessible to more people, and I think I can find that value with people who aren't necessarily gamers with that. So I'm going to go with Decrypto. Over to Daniela.
Yeah, for all the reasons you guys just said, Decrypto. I don't even know the horror of the Eldritch that you had to set up that for.
All right, so Decrypto then does its own little sweep, taking value for your time. We'll go to replayability. Right back to Daniela.
Okay, so for replayability for me, I'm going to go with Decrypto on this, because I think if you find again, both of these games require the right people to play these games with. When you're playing on a team with Decrypto, I think there's a lot of variety in the words and in the choices and how you're having to think of how you're playing the game. So for me, I think, and again, it can get samey. I'm not going to deny that. You're doing essentially the same word matching for every single time that you're playing. I'm sure the replayability in Eldritch has a vast of ways to get killed. I mean, how many diseases were there that Pete died from a certain number of deaths?
I couldn't die fast enough.
Yeah. But for me, the replayability, and just overall, the ease of that is going to be Decrypto. Pete.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Eldritch Horror. This is a little tough one here, because I get both sides of it. Yeah, it's easy. Each time those cards are going to come out in a different, order, and you're going to be trying to compare two things. I get that, but I think I'm looking at it more of a game that I want to sit down and play with friends. Not that I don't have friends that, play party games, but I'm just going to lean towards Eldritch Horror if Chris will set it up for me. So I'm going to go over to Chris, see if he's going to set it up for me.
That's the key. A lot of people, if you read what folks have to say online or talk to people about it, they'll say that, hey, the base game Eldritch Horror can get somewhat samey. There's only so many cards that come with it. And they say, well, you start to see the same cards. But to me, there's just so much else going on there. It's still a different game every time to me. And again, you start getting the expansions, and it's crazy as far as replayability. I've played this thing 96, 97 times. I'm still longing to play it. That's a lot of replayability for me. Eldritch Horror for me, which means Eldritch Horror takes the category. We'll go to fun factor. I'll start. I have a lot of fun playing Eldritch Horror. The way it somehow whether you're way behind, you still have a chance that sometimes you come roaring back and you actually crank out a win once you realize what you're doing in the game. But also there's been times when it's like, okay, all I got to do is get through this set of rolls and I got the game on. And the next thing you know, the world just starts to fall apart, just like the Ancient Ones are waking up. And you go from 7 on the Doom track to the Ancient One wakes up and you're destroyed. That to me is a lot of fun. It can be frustrating, but if once you open your mind up to say, okay, this is going to be tough and just come what may, I just have a lot of fun with that. It's Eldritch for me. I'll go to Daniela.
It's funny you say that because I don't disagree. This is a game that if you're losing collectively together, even though we're going through the game together, the collective loss is still fun in a certain way, which is kind of bizarre. And so again, like I had a great time playing this. I think I'm leaning just a little bit more towards Decrypto for the fun factor for me because I really like that game. I really like the deduction of looking at the words and then trying to figure out the code as you're going through it and looking at the person across the table and going, what are they thinking? And how are they thinking of that word star or how are they thinking of the word train or something like that? And you're trying to break them down a little bit mentally as well. So for me, that's more fun to me. But, again, Eldritch is great as well. Pete.
Yeah, this one, I was really surprised with what I decided. Chris, when you said that we were going to play Eldritch Horror and we were going to get kicked in, I was thinking that it was just going to be a miserable game, and it wasn't. It was fantastic. I just enjoyed it so much. And when I think about fun, it's not always laugh out loud fun, but that camaraderie, as you said before, when we're going down together, we're going down together. And I feel that, and there's that excitement. Word games, again, not my forte. I enjoy them, but I just don't have as much fun as if I'm playing a game like Eldritch Horror. So I'm going to go with Eldritch Horror.
All right, so Eldritch Horror takes the fun factor, and that puts an end to this matchup with a score of 4-1. Eldritch Horror pulls off an insane victory to advance to the Elite Eight of our Meeple Madness tournament.
All right, guys, that wraps up day one. So we went through a couple games already. Any surprises, any favorites, any final thoughts for the first couple games that we went through today?
I thought it got really interesting really fast when Bomb Busters almost took out Brass Birmingham, and I still think it was just a game time decision on what happened there. That got really interesting. So it's always tough putting games that are completely different against each other, but also, again, a group of really good games that any game can take any game out anytime.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be really challenging to continue on. Comparing two like games is one thing, but when they're totally different, there's so many different things to think about. So it makes for an interesting bracket. So
yeah, a lot of these have some sweet spots in our hearts as we're going down through the games. But I think we'll see kind of what ekes out. I'm excited to see how we get to the end.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Good battles ahead.
All right, everyone. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode 1 out of 3 that we're going to be doing. So join us next week for the next batch of games that we're going to be going through. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you want to get in touch with us and tell us what we got right and where we missed the mark, email us at thefifthmeeple@gmail.com or reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitter, or our BGG Guild. And make sure you tune in next time to see which game survives the next round of Meeple Madness in our 2025 Battle of the Funnest tournament. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening.
Adios, amigos.
Glory to Rome.
Glory to Rome.
Okay, we're going to do that again. Gosh darn it.
Tough one, huh?
I don't know what happened. My brain just stopped working.
Lecanisms. The